Okay guys, so before I even touch the code, let me quickly introduce you to the limit and the offset, because pagination is based on the limit and the offset. All right. So I've downloaded a program here. The name of the program is HideSQL. Similar to PHP but it's not web-based, so it's quite fast. You can say I can run the code multiple times. It's super fast. I don't have to refresh the page or click on edit to change my query. So all right, so let's have a look at the syntax for the limit and the offset, because our pagination is, the limit and the offset is the engine of our pagination. So to understand pagination, you have to understand how the limit and the offset works. All right, so let's have a look at the syntax from W3 Schools. All right, so this is the syntax. So this is the offset. This is the offset. So this is the offset, and it tells MySQL how many rows to skip, and the second number is the limit, which tells MySQL how many rows to return. So if I change now my query to this, that should skip the first 5 rows and return the next 5 rows. All right, and if I change it, okay, and if I change it again, okay, see what happens. Okay, so this number is calculated based on the current page. So I'll show you now how it's calculated. All right, for now let's change it back to anyway, you can just leave it like this. Okay, so so the first thing that the paginator will do is it will calculate the last page of your results, and the last page is the total number of rows found divided by the number of rows you want to display per page. So that's the limit. That per page represents the limit or the number of rows you want to display per page. All right, so let's say you have 15 results, 15 rows in the database, and you want to display 5 results per page. So your last page will be 3, because 15 divided by 5 is 3. Okay, and then the paginator will generate pagination links for you based on this number on the last page. So when I have something like this, while I is less than last page, and inside our while loop we're going to have the code for generating the pagination links. All right, and this is a simple example of what the pagination links will look like. All right, in this case, if the last page is 3. All right, and the HTML for, actually that should be outside our for loop. So this is an example of what our pagination links will look like, and this is what the HTML will look like. All right, you see we've got this extra parameter here which represents the current page, and the number here is given to us inside our while loop, right? And it's the I variable inside our for loop. All right, so all right, so whenever you click on a link, so we'll get the page from the URL and then use the current page to calculate the offset. All right, so let's assume you click on page 1. So the offset, like I said, is calculated based on the current page. So for page 1, the offset will be so for page 1, the offset will be offset is equal to so this is the formula for calculating the offset. Offset is current page minus 1 multiplied by the per page variable. All right, in this case, let's just say the per page the per page is 5. So that's the limit, or the number of rows we want to display per page. Okay, so the current page, when you're on, let's say you're on page 1, so the current page will be 1 minus 1. This is now for page 1, multiplied by 5. So that will give you 0, because anything 1 minus 1 is 0, multiplied by 5 is 0. Anything multiplied by 0 is 0. All right, so for page 1, that means that the offset will be 0. See, now this means that we'll skip 0 rows for page 1. All right, now let's say you click on page 2. So when you click on page 2, the current page will be 2. So the formula for calculating the offset will be 2 minus 1 multiplied by 5. 2 minus 1 is 1, multiplied by 5 is equal to 5. So for page 2, the offset will be 5. And let's run the query. See, for page 2 now, this means that we're gonna skip the first 5 rows for page 2, all right, and return the next 5 rows. Okay, now let's assume you click on page 3. So the offset will be 3 minus 1, which gives you 2. 2 multiplied by 5 is 10. So now for page 3, this means that the offset will be 10. And let's run the query. Okay, now you see that for page 3, we'll skip the first 10 results and return the next 5 results after that. All right, so that is how the limit and the offset works. If you can just wrap your head around this, then it's gonna be super easy to understand how pagination works.